Now we'll go for the second accounting standard. You have accounting standard 6, very important and very easy, that is depreciation accounting. Now first understand what you mean by depreciation. Depreciation is nothing but something reduction in the value of an asset. That is called as a depreciation. You can say reduction in the value of an asset, or because of obsolescence in the value of an asset. There is something, your asset value is going on decreasing, and that reduction, that decrease part in your asset value is called as a depreciation. Now, what do you mean by depreciable assets? Which assets we can say are being depreciated, which assets value are being decreased over a year. So depreciable assets are those which are used by your business organization for the production of goods and services, which are used for definitely for more than 1, 2, 3 accounting years. So these assets are used for your production or services, and you are not going to dispose of within a year. So definitely it has a long-term life. It's more than 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. Understood? So these are the depreciable assets. Now, here, what are the main features or a requirement again for the A6? So first one is the depreciable amount of a depreciable assets should be disclosed on a systematic basis over the entire useful life of an asset. Say as the asset is going to be used for 10 years, then depreciation should be provided for 10 years. So whatever the depreciation you are getting yearly, that should be disclosed systematically on a yearly basis over the entire useful life. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि आपका asset का value is 10 years and the entire depreciation you are disclosing in 1 year also. No, asset value is 10 years, so depreciation should also be disclosed over a period of 10 years. Understood? Okay. Whatever the methods you are following, that also you should disclose, whether you are following a straight line method or whether you are following a WDV method, or you can say written down value method, you should disclose. Whenever there is a possibility or whenever there is a requirement to change from one method to another method, you should disclose the reason for changing the method from one to another, and also by amount by which your P&L will be affected, that also you should disclose. Suppose you are changing from SLM to WDV and the depreciable amount will change, say from 500 rupees to 300 rupees. Definitely there will be a surplus of 200 rupees because earlier you were disclosing a depreciation of 500 rupees. Now we are disclosing a depreciation of 300 rupees. So your expenses has come down. So there is a surplus of 200. That surplus should be credited your P&L account. On the other hand, if there is a deficiency in P&L account, that also should be debited to your P&L account because there is a loss. Understood? You have to mention the reason why the method has been changed, for what reason, from which year. You should disclose everything in your depreciation accounting, or you can say in your accounting standards. Next. Now here also the useful life of an asset depends upon many things. Say for example, use of an asset, the purpose for which it has been used. So for all these reasons, the useful life of an asset will be decided and it will be considered. Now any addition in your asset or any deletion in your asset will become an integral part of your asset. You have to add up your cost value of an asset to that, and on that additional part also you should provide depreciation. ऐसा नहीं होना चाहिए कि firstly हमने suppose asset purchase किया हुआ है 20,000 rupees में, after 2 years down the line or 3 years down the line, there is some part has been added for which the value has been increased to 5,000 rupees. Then on that extra 5,000 rupees also you should provide the depreciation. ऐसा नहीं कि हम लोग वही पुराने 20,000 के ऊपर ही depreciation provide करें. Additional जो 5,000 उसके ऊपर खर्चा हुआ उसके ऊपर हम लोग depreciation नहीं provide करेंगे, then it will be a wrong picture. So any addition which becomes an integral part of your asset, you should provide a depreciation on that additional part also. Understood? Yeah. And when you dispose of your asset, when you sell off your depreciable asset, whatever the surplus or a deficiency on that asset should also be disclosed in your P&L account. Understood? Yep. So these are the features. Now, main thing which is required for your depreciation accounting is you should disclose your historical value or revalued asset of an asset. Second thing is depreciable amount of an asset, like whatever how much depreciation you are providing. Third one is depreciation method, which method. And the last one is depreciation rate as well as useful life of an asset. These are the 5 important things which is required, additional disclosure. Third accounting standard, very easy to understand, AS 9, that is accounting standard 9, revenue recognition. Now, first of all, understand revenue. Revenue means what? Revenue means some kind of income. When I'm selling goods, when I'm providing services, definitely I am earning income against of that. That is called as my income, or you can say revenue. So revenue means income generated over the entire accounting year from your day-to-day operations, by selling of goods, by providing of services, or by, you can say, royalty agreement, or by you might be earning income by way of rent, by way of interest. So that all becomes your part of revenue. Now here we are going to study how the revenue recognition is done. That means whatever the revenue you are earning over the entire accounting period, how that will be recognized in your accounting period, in your financial sets of books, in your P&L, in your trading account, in your balance sheet. However, so this accounting standard is again mandatory from 1st of April 1991. Now the first and the most important over here is, now this AS9 is not applicable to 4 industries. The first one is government grants, insurance companies, hire purchase or a lease agreements, and the last one is construction contracts. So construction contracts, hire purchase or a lease, government grants and insurance company, they do not follow AS9, and it is not compulsory for them also to follow accounting standard 9. Understood? Now, here when you are earning a revenue, say for example from sale of goods, there is one method like how you are recognizing. Say for example, revenue from sale of goods should be recognized when, very important to understand, please understand, when all the significant risk and reward of that property has been transferred from seller to buyer. Understood? So I'm selling you goods. Now that goods has become your property, and on exchange of that goods I'm earning some money, and I'm recognizing my sale. So that becomes my revenue. So revenue from sale of goods should be recognized when the seller has transferred to the buyer all the risk in the property, and the property has become full-fledged property of the buyer. On the other hand, revenue from services should be recognized. Now there are 2 methods from revenue from services. Either you can recognize revenue from services on a proportionate basis or on a completion method basis. There are 2 methods. Revenue from interest should be recognized on a timely basis. 1 month interest, 2 month interest, 3 months interest, 6 month interest, fully year का interest, on that basis. Revenue from royalty has to be determined based on the terms of agreement of the royalty agreement. उसमें एग्रीमेंट में कौन से हिसाब से रेवेन्यू रिकॉग्नाइज का हमने स्टाइल लिखा हुआ है, या टर्म डिसाइड हुआ है, या कंडीशन हुआ है, वो हिसाब से रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम रॉयल्टी विल बी डिसाइडेड. द लास्ट वन इज रेवेन्यू फ्रॉम डिविडेंड will be decided or will be recognized when the right to receive the dividend payment is established. When, see, the company declares a dividend, at that time you are not going to recognize the revenue. When company pays you dividend and there is a right to payment of dividend is established, that time only revenue from dividend will be recognized. Understood? Now this revenue should be recognized only when there is a clear certainty about the recognition of it. That means you should be quite certain that you are going to earn that revenue. Now when I say clear certainty, the amount, whatever the amount you are going to get, that should be measurable also. And that should be collectible also. When I say measurable, it should be able, you should be able to count it, whether you are earning 500 rupees or 5,000 rupees or 50,000 rupees. And when I say it should be collectible, means there should be a possible, or there should be quite certainty about the recognition of it, about that you are going to receive that revenue. Understood? Unless and until those conditions are not there, you are not going to recognize your revenue. Now the last one in this is AS10, that is accounting standard 10, that is accounting for fixed assets. Now AS6 depreciation and AS10 accounting for fixed assets, both are something interrelated, because depreciation is provided on fixed assets. Whenever there is a fixed asset, that means that asset is used for more than one accounting period for your production of goods and services. That is the meaning of fixed asset. Now here the value of the fixed assets will be determined either whatever the amount you are paying for it, that is the acquisition cost of an asset. So that becomes the cost of an asset. Whatever the price you are paying for it to acquire that particular asset, that becomes the acquisition cost, and on that value, the value of the fixed asset or the cost of the fixed assets will be determined. Now here we also have to understand what is a fair market value of a fixed asset. It means the price which is agreed upon between a knowledgeable parties, or you can say between a knowledgeable buyer and a seller in an open market, that is called a fair market value. लेने वाले को भी पता है कि कौन सी प्राइस पे एसेट लेना है, और बेचने वाले और देने वाले को भी पता है कि क्या प्राइस पे एसेट देना है. So that becomes a fair market value. Both the parties are knowledgeable, both have a quite and well advanced knowledge कि मुझे क्या प्राइस पे एसेट लेना है और क्या प्राइस पे एसेट देना है. ऐसा नहीं कि दो में से एक पार्टी को ही पता है, दूसरे पार्टी को पता ही नहीं है कि एक्चुअल प्राइस क्या है. Understood? So that becomes your fair market value. Now, the cost of asset should be determined. Whatever the price you are paying for that asset, that means you can say the purchase price. If you are paying anything for additional of that asset, that also becomes the cost of an asset. If you are exchanging one asset for another asset, then whatever the price which you have paid for that exchanged asset, that becomes the cost of an asset. Now, when several assets are acquired in a lot, or you can say in a bunch, then price will be determined on a suitably average basis. Say for 50,000, मैंने कुछ 5-10 assets खरीदा है, so that 50,000 will be divided among those 5 or 10 assets on a suitable basis. Now here, some additional disclosure should also be made. You have to always mention gross value of fixed assets as well as net value of fixed assets.